Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of Orphan First Kill. This is the prequel to the original Orphan film from 2009, which actually came out 13 years ago. So I'm going to age myself here, but I was 17 when that film came out. I remember seeing it in theaters and loving it. I had actually rewatched it just recently to prepare for this review, and I loved it even more as an adult. I absolutely just am amazed by that film and also that character of Esther, or we could say Lena. But I love Isabelle Fuhrman, and I think she's a great actress, so I was really excited for this film. But what's really also special about that original film is Vera Farmiga. You can't go wrong with her. She's a horror legend. But I was kind of holding my expectations a little in place for this film because when I saw it was a different director and a different writer, you have to kind of just look at it with a clean slate now and just take in, see what they do. And what is so interesting about this film is that it's coming out so long after the original. So you're kind of like, why did it take so long to come out the other one from a successful film like Orphan? But this film, I was really enjoying the beginning. Like the first half of this film, the first 40 minutes, I was invested. I thought it was pretty good for what it was, being a prequel. I love everything they did in the psychiatric hospital with Lena. I like that they use a black light opening graphics here, alluding to again how she does her paintings. But I like to see that all the patients in the psychiatric hospital were under her fingertips, like the Lena we knew from the original Orphan film, how she used the kids in that house the same way, and that she uses this piece of candy to have one of the patients help her get out. I like the kill in the back of the trunk she did to the doctor, and then we get to see her play some piano here, which she's known for, which is great. And there's a lot of good stuff here. We got to see her looking for the Esther that was the missing identity. She was going to use that missing child. That was really fascinating. We got to see the origin of her Bible, her finding the alpha to match that child. And I like that we got to see her covering her wounds, and they even showed her right away painting, but also having her tantrum like on the airplane. And we got to see the origin of the Glory of Love, which she sung in the original film, and that was playing on the record player in this house when she's reunited with Esther's real family. And we see that Esther was missing for 4 years, the actual Esther, and that she's taking the place. So first you're kind of wondering how the original mother doesn't recognize it's not her own daughter, but then maybe you kind of accuse it as like she wants it to be, so that's kind of her being in denial. But we will get a twist that we're going to get to that explains more of this. But what I really liked about the beginning of this film is that I like that we got to see a perspective from Esther's point of view through this film, where the original film, it was really a lot through the mother, played by Vera Farmiga. So you can't do another twist like the original because we know now who Esther really is, that she's this Lena, she's this older woman. But it was interesting to kind of see everything now in the suspense of her getting caught, right? We're seeing what happened with that family, that we knew the house would burn down here. And maybe my complaints towards the beginning, the only problems I was really having was it was falling a lot of prequelitis, where a lot of the story beats were too similar. Like the way she first see her really jealous of the husband and the wife is the same exact way as the original film, just looking at them while they're in the bedroom, also having a very similar bullying older brother with bullying friends. So at that point in the film, I also felt like it was just what a lot of prequels do, or sequels even, they just take a more successful film and hit a lot of the same story beats. So to me, it felt like they were trying to counteract that by having this totally unexpected twist. But this is where I was ready to accept some of those prequelitis things I was just talking about and see this movie as a pretty solid film at the way it was going. And I thought this twist completely ruined this movie for me. I thought this was one of the silliest twists I have ever seen, and it was one of those type of twists I would have walked out of the theater if I saw this in theaters and wasn't reviewing it. I ended up watching the whole film, but my eyes rolled back so far here. I'm going to explain why I hated this twist. Before we, though, even get into that twist, I also was annoyed that this detective we didn't know much about, we did know that he was suspicious of Esther. I wanted to see why he had such a hunch on why this wasn't the real Esther. They never showed that. Like, they showed that he had found the fingerprints to catch her, but we never knew why he was taking photos of her in the beginning. Why was he all of a sudden, from the start, on to Esther? That was never explained, which I did not like. Now, where the inconsistencies lie in this twist, which I thought was just ridiculous, was we see the twist to explain, if for some reason you haven't watched the film and you're watching a spoiler review, that the real Esther died by the hands of Gunnar, which was first seemed like an accident that happened and they were covering, but the way he says, I'll kill you like I did the real Esther to her later on makes me think it wasn't an accident, which is kind of crazy. So you kind of see how evil this mom and her son are, and that they didn't tell the husband that they know what really happened to his real daughter. So she offers Lena to play the role to keep the husband happy, or she's like, I'll send you off to prison. You're going to be screwed either way, so you're under my control, right? Well, it's crazy, first off, to that she knew from the start this wasn't her daughter, and she was just doing this to keep her husband happy because she liked how happy he looked having the daughter there again, who's not really the daughter. But what doesn't make sense about this is that if that's her motivation to keep Esther there, it goes back and forth because she found the pics of her husband in Esther's Bible, like the original film, and this didn't set her off, but fine with enough to keep her there. But then she flips out about it later when she sees her hitting on her husband when they're painting. And what doesn't make sense about the timing of this is that she also tried poisoning her because we saw the food killed the mouse. But the poisoning attempt started before she saw her with the painting. So was she already planning to kill her from what happened, what she found in the Bible? But we know she didn't because she made an agreement with her. So then why did she poison her before that incident with the painting? It's a lot of like, wait, which is it? Her character's constantly not explained while changing her mind. And the problem with this twist is then you realize that you have all your characters being hateable and villainous, so you have no one to root for, and that you're in this moment where everyone knows what's going on except this husband who is just oblivious to everything, which was a problem with the original film. If there's some critique I have of that is that how oblivious the husband is, they just double down on making the husband even stupider. And then you're just now watching these hateable, villainous characters fighting with each other, where in the original film, you were still rooting for the character played by Vera Farmiga, and that was built up from the start, that you would get that payoff by the end against Esther, the villain. Esther is already developed by this film, a really amazing villain from the past, so let her shine and be that villain. You're upstaging her by having Julia Stiles be this mastermind now, which was ridiculous, and having her also coaching her for a little bit was weird, and it kind of downplayed, kind of, to me, the brilliance of the character of Esther. So a lot of it was shaking my head, and it made me feel like this seemed like a case where the writers were just trying to freshen things up too much, where it was like way the other way, where it was like, no, this is like, you don't need to have another villain in a story where you already have a great villain in Esther, where it then feels like an Alien vs. Predator, Freddy vs. Jason type of movie now. You're just hating everyone and you completely start losing grasp on tension and suspense. And also, there's moments where the tone was lost of just this franchise of Orphan, where that's where I really lost faith in these creators, when Esther is just driving and they're playing Maniac and puts her shades on. Come on. That's the type of stuff that's so easy to think of and so silly and out of the lane of the creepiness that should be the Orphan franchise. And where that cringing writing is happening with Julia Stiles' character, which was the worst character of this movie and ruined this movie for me, was she's now decided that she's going to fake a suicide of Esther. And she's like, your suicide will break Daddy's heart, but he will get over it. So again, just going against her whole character's motivation. So it's constantly flip-flopping and doesn't make much sense at all, which really is frustrating. And also, the movie did a good job at the beginning, right? Where they have to trick us that the actress of Isabelle Fuhrman, remember, she was a kid in the original film. So now she is, I think, 25. She's an adult. So she's taller. So whenever you're seeing behind the character of Esther, that it's a child actor who's substituted, and then you see in the back of her head is a child, and then when it's close-ups, it's really the actress Isabelle Fuhrman, and they're probably putting her on, bigger chairs, or that trick where they put her in a bigger set than the other actors to make her look smaller, and maybe even when sometimes she's talking to, like, the father, when it's just a close-up on her, you might see his body, he might be a taller actor they're putting in there, so they're doing all those tricks, but it was working for me, and then in the end, they got sloppy. And I feel like they even got sloppy with the costume, where there's that scene that really stuck out to me towards the end where she's talking to the husband, and she's still supposed to look like a little girl to him. And she has her hair down. She looks just like Isabelle Fuhrman today. She looks like a 25-year-old. So I was kind of like, why did they stop being consistent with the costume before looking in disguise like a kid as she's supposed to be out in public? So I feel like they really dropped the ball with that as well. And you just start, it's like your classic bad horror film tropes, like especially with the burning building, where Julia Stiles' character is still running after Esther when she should really just get out of that house when it's burning to the ground. But no, she keeps going for her, which was just silly. And where the writing really suffers, and you see again, just at the end moment, it was cool to have us see it come full circle where Esther's gonna go now to the orphanage in the first film. But unfortunately, I hated the second half of this film. It really disappointed me, and it really almost was the worst thing a prequel could do, or it ruined to me the character of Esther and Lena, if you want to call her that. I think there's faith if they want to try to make a better film and make a sequel. I think you still can. I think you can kind of justify her dying in the original film. And, you know, we saw her go under the ice. They could rewire that to do a sequel. I think a sequel might be the best way to approach this because I still think there's potential with this great actor and character of Esther and Isabelle Fuhrman. But maybe just a stronger story next time. And this just twist. It's one of those twists I want to forget forever. But I'm curious what you guys think. Again, I'm giving this a 4.6. Let me know your thoughts on this film. Did you like the twist? Did you like what was happening the whole time? What were things that stood out to you? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this film. I read every comment, try to respond as I can, and please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss one of my reviews of movies. I also do TV reviews as well and celebrity interviews. And please follow me at Steve Varley Show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for more of me. And I'll see you next time.